Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Vamily Show, the very awesome family show. And with me today, I have Allyson Roberts. She is the owner and founder of Outrageous Freedom, and she also does one-on-one coaching on her website, AllysonRoberts.com. And she has quite an inspiring story. And I kind of wanted to talk to you about, because I listened to a little bit of an interview with you about how you ended up living in a car in the first place. And I got
Yeah.
to say that was a very brave situation of you to continue on with your conviction to do what you had to do. And if you don't mind sharing how you ended up there, and then how you took that and got to where you're at now, I think is a very inspiring story.
Thank you. Well, I was 7 weeks away from getting married, and uh, a pregnancy test came back positive. So I went to my fiance and told him, and we were both really excited. We were jumping up and down in the kitchen, and he was hugging me and twirling me around, and typical like response that you see when
Right.
people are really excited about it. Um, And then we made the mistake of sharing the news with his parents. And his mom didn't say a word when we told them that I was pregnant.
Wow.
But his dad immediately walked over to his desk and opened up a drawer and wrote me a check for an abortion.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And I'm not pro-life. I mean, I believe that, there's circumstances where women should absolutely make that choice, in the other direction. But, just we were in love and we had conceived this baby together, and it blew my mind. Like was just standing there with my mouth wide open. And so,
Wow. Just
um,
to, just to think, it wasn't you're both going to get married and all that kind of stuff, and just to have that kind of reaction, you would think, oh, they're going to be grandparents. They should have the same reaction as you guys, and to have that, yeah, I can't imagine how that would feel, especially as young as you were, to have somebody just say, well, this is fine, just get rid of it. It's no big deal.
yeah, I was 19 when all of that happened, and my fiance was 24. So we were living together, and we went back home, and he was like, we can always have another one, and
Wow.
I think that you should just go ahead and go through with this. And so a couple of days later, I made an appointment. I went to the clinic, and I was on the table, and they were getting ready to put me to sleep, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And so I left the clinic and I went home, and I lied. Unfortunately, that was not the right thing to do, but I lied to my fiance and told him, that I had gone through with it. And then, like a week later, the morning sickness kicked in. And so, he woke up to me like vomiting in the bathroom. And he came in there, and I had longer hair than I even do now. And he was like holding my hair and put a wet cloth on my neck. And he was like, I knew that you didn't do it. He's like, you weren't upset enough. And he's like, it's okay that you lied to me. I understand why you lied. He's like, I'll talk to my parents. Everything will be fine. And so I was in college at the time. So I left and drove to school. And when I got home, I couldn't get into the house, and my fiance and his dad were inside, and they had changed the locks,
Oh, wow.
and all of my stuff was outside.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was driving a little Volkswagen Beetle at the time.
Oh, a little, that's a little tiny one.
Yeah. Tiny little car. So I put as much of my stuff in my car as I could. And my mom is mentally ill, and I really didn't want to go back to her house, but it was the only place that I had to go. So I called her, and I went back home. I didn't tell her I was pregnant. And then I had to tell her because I was starting to show. And I told her everything that happened, that I was kicked out. And because I had told her that we just got into a fight and called off the wedding, but I didn't tell her, what was happening. And so when I got home from school that day, my mother had changed the locks
Wow.
on the door because I wouldn't have an abortion. She wanted me to have an abortion as well. And I told her that I couldn't do it. So I found myself in my mother's driveway in my Volkswagen Beetle with the clothes that I had on my back. I had like maybe at that time, like maybe $7 or $8 to my name. And a full tank of gas. I had just put gas in my car. So I drove back to school. And I just decided that I was going to stay in my car until I could figure something else out. I had such a strong conviction, Bob, that I just was not supposed to terminate the pregnancy. And I know it doesn't make any sense,
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense when you think about it. I mean, at least from my side, it's another life that you're caring for, and so it's not just an easy decision like everybody wants to make it out to be, especially around you. So, and you were listening to the voice inside you, so that's you're doing the right thing by how your feelings are, and not by what everybody's telling you.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was taking a class, and our instructor was actually, he made us read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I was reading it every night in my car. It was freezing too. Like, people don't think it gets cold in Georgia, but man, it does. And it was freezing cold outside. Thank goodness I was in a parking garage, and I had kind of wedged myself up between a big like concrete pillar and the inside wall. And so I was more protected than I would be if I had just been like out of the parking garage, but it was still really cold.
Right.
And so I, every night I would read. I was underneath a light in the parking garage, and I would just sit there and read Think and Grow Rich. And I started to believe it, that what we think, really, we are our thoughts. And,
Right.
I'm a psychology major. And so I was like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. If we believe that we can't do something, then we can't do it. And if we believe that we can, then we can. And so I just started imagining myself warm and, in a warm bed with people who love me and care about my child. And I was just about to give up. I'm not going to lie. I'd been in my car for 3 weeks, and I was just really reaching the end of my rope. And I think I passed out more than I went to sleep. I was just exhausted and hungry and everything else. And there was a knock on my window, and it was the same professor who had given me Think and Grow Rich. And he was like, follow me home. And I was like, I can't. My car is empty. I don't have any money. I don't have any gas. And he was like, well, then just climb into my truck with me. And he took me home, and he had told his wife, about what was happening with me. And the next day we called Catholic Social Services, and they got me into, shelter. And I made an adoption plan for my son. And when I was in the hospital, after he was born, I was really going back and forth about whether or not I should, place him for adoption, even though I had already picked the parents and already made a plan. But, the love is just like, it's so tremendous that it's, I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to leave him. And then I just heard this voice inside of me that was like, if you sign the adoption papers, you'll see him again. And it was a closed adoption. I didn't know who. I had picked his parents through like profiles, but I didn't have pictures of them. I didn't know their names. They didn't know my name, nothing. And so I signed the adoption papers. And then 20 some odd years later, I woke up in the middle of the night one night and I just felt like it was time to look for him. It didn't make any sense to me, but I contacted Catholic Social Services and I was like, I want to find him. And they were like, it's, this could take years, but we're happy to start the process for you. And then they called me the very next day and told me that my son and I had faxed our paperwork in at the same time.
Wow. That makes you the God's at work in a lot of things in life.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff is real. That's what I try to tell people. Like, and it doesn't have to be in extraordinary circumstances either. God is ever present in our lives, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to be suffering a lot for a miracle to happen.
Right. And that's an incredible thing to have happen at the same time you guys wanted to find each other.
Yeah, he wanted me at his wedding, and I was. So it was really beautiful.
And I'm sure it made you so happy that you didn't have that abortion when they wanted you to. And he's standing there getting married, and to think that he might not even exist in the first place is an incredible I guess bow tie on the gift of life that you gave him.
Well, he's a beautiful soul, and I feel like every person has a purpose regardless, even in the darkest of times, regardless, I feel like every person has a purpose, because there can't be light without dark,
right.
And there can't be love without hatred, kind of thing. And so, but he is a beautiful soul. I mean, he really is incredible. And I have a daughter too, that also is just as amazing. Her soul is just as incredible. Didn't place her for adoption, raised her, but
right.
But yeah, they're both incredible people.
So what did your family think about how you went from being in the car and living there, and now you're a successful person? Do they kind of regret how they treated you back then?
I don't think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they surprised that you made it to where you're at now?
Yes. I think I would say that is a big yes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that they thought that I was going to be just a total disaster,
Yeah.
But I persevered, and here I am. So.
And that Beetle you lived in is probably could fit in the room that you're sitting in right now.
For sure.
What were some of the? Do you have any fond memories of living in the car that were fun at all?
No. It was miserable. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It was right. One of the reasons was that it was just so cold, right. And I was pregnant, and yep. So, when you're pregnant, you have to pee every half hour, and so I was like holding it and waiting until the school opened up the next morning. It was pretty brutal.
Right. Especially in a Beetle. It's not like you can start it up and get the heat going real easy like some other cars. So
exactly. Yeah.
And now that you're doing the personal coaching, do you think those experiences though help you out coaching people, because you've been to where you had nothing at all, been homeless and been in the car and worked your way up? Do you think you're able to empathize with people a lot better than say if you had an easier life the whole time?
Absolutely, for sure. People ask me all the time, would I change anything? Absolutely not. I think that, my path has helped me understand people's pain. But it also, I think it makes me kick people's butts too a little bit, right. Because I have a really low tolerance for people just staying in their suffering. Because people have so much power. They don't realize, I mean, every single person on this planet is so powerful, regardless of anything that they've been through. You know, and we try, you know, we try really hard to keep other people down, and we try really hard, you know, just as a society in general, I think to not honor the power of individuals. So while I understand people's pain and I empathize with it, I illuminate people's power. I mean, I feel like that's my whole purpose on this planet, is to help people understand the magic that's inside of them, and that they can do anything that they want to turn their life around.
Right. Everybody has a God-given gift, I think, and you just have to discover what that gift is. And when you was the desire to go into psychology based because your mom had a mental illness? Is that kind of why you went into it?
Yes. Yeah.
And what are some things that you learned in there? Because it seems like people get stuck in that the pity stuff and the sorrow stuff out of a habit that you form in your mind. And is that something that you've noticed in doing psychology, that it's getting stuck in a habit of that bad feeling actually feeling good in your brain because it's so used to it?
I think it comes more from spirituality, honestly. You know, I mean, the combination of science and spirituality, I believe, is where the real magic is, because, you know, the science is one, to me, is one, obviously one piece of it, but, people have to be able to feel that feeling inside of them that doesn't come from science. You have to be able to tap into that just innate knowing, that there's something just a little bit greater or a lot greater, that's in the universe that has our back. And, right. You know, because when, you know, I can work with some people and teach them, you know, thought models and things like that. But if they lack faith, it's a really big struggle for them to try and change their mind.
Right. I have to agree with that. Before I got faith and all that kind of stuff, it was a lot more difficult to get out of a negative mindset and feel like there was something else to life than, and why not just end it? And I tried to end it before, and that's why I have the little banner down there on the screen for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And like you said, you were close to the end of your rope as well. What are some tips that you have for people that are feeling like there's no other option, that you've noticed can help them get into a better mindset and get away from that end of the rope type feeling?
What I did inside of my beetle, was I told myself that everything in my life was happening for a reason. And it's just a decision that you have to make, that everything is happening for a reason. And that is a powerful thought.
Right.
And if you believe it, even, I mean, just a dot, it's a tiny little dot that's the size of, like, you know, a mustard seed, you know, right, as Jesus would say, but, you know, Buddha would say, you know, the dot that's almost invisible. It doesn't even have to be a lot of faith. It's just, if you believe it enough that everything is happening for a reason, it will keep you here.
Right. And that's, isn't that when you talk about science and spirituality, it's amazing how many of Jesus's teachings you find in other religions in different forms, like you just said, where Buddha said almost invisible, and the mustard seed. And that's the biggest thing I can tell people too, is just having faith and having a belief in God, and if you can, like you said, think everything's happening for a reason, then you can go, okay, there's maybe a better purpose for my life, and I always look at it like, why end the book before you get to the last chapter? Why end it prematurely? You don't know how it's going to end. You only read part of the book of your life. Why end it before you get to the last chapters of it? Um, when you look at helping people out, has that helped you out as well? Being that ear for people on your website, you can sign up and do one-on-one coaching with you. And I saw that you were in the top 100 of coaches. So that's quite an accomplishment in itself, because I'm sure there's a lot of coaches out there now. What are some of your best success stories that you've had? Have you taken other people from living in their car and raised them up to where they're successful individuals now?
No one in their car, but I have worked with people, that are living in their parents' spare bedroom, and but they're 50 years old, not 20. You
Right,
know, I've worked with people who just can't. Their life looks really fantastic on paper, but inside they're just crashing. And some of the greatest success stories are the things that can be seen on the outside, right?
right,
um, like people going from broke to buying their own house, being able to pay cash for a car, um, you know being able to pay off all of their debt and just be completely debt free, and know that they're going to also be debt free moving forward, that they're not going to recreate the pattern again. Because a lot of people pay off debt and then they find themselves like in debt again in like 2 or 3 years, sometimes even a greater amount than the original amount that they paid off. And that
right,
is a mindset thing. That's a mindset. Um, I've helped marriages that were, completely falling apart get back together again. I've helped couples consciously divorce, um, realizing that, this is not going to work for us going forward, instead of trying to hold on to something that's just completely broken. Um, so people are like, don't you have a specialty? I'm like, yeah, the specialty is mindset work.
right,
Because you can apply mindset work to any area of your life, all areas of your life.
right. And I'm sure that's the biggest success of all, is changing somebody's mindset from I guess you'd say a nihilist mindset to somebody that actually has a better outlook for the future of their own life. Is probably some of the greatest turnarounds that you have. Even if on paper it doesn't show up as they've changed all this much, but they changed their mindset from I don't care anymore to who knows what's going to happen, but I can't wait to see it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And I'm doing a book collaboration right now with 13 other women who are, they're each submitting a chapter to our book, and it's called Behind the Power.
Wow.
And the stories of these women, turning their lives around is pretty incredible. I mean, I work with men too, but for some reason, women have a tendency to gravitate toward me more than men. But they the stories of just I'm worthless to I matter.
Right.
That's a huge bridge to cross,
Right.
and
And
it changes everything.
I think men have a harder time opening up in the first place. I think more so than women. I think women, once you share your story, women seem to be more open to sharing their story with you than men do. Um, and I think it's just ingrained in men, just because they don't want to appear weak and all that kind of stuff. And it goes back to that. So um, that's just something I noticed from my end, from being a guy that it takes a lot for men to open up with each other, let alone and with a woman. um, just because they don't want to appear weak. And the saddest thing is one of the strongest things you can do in the first place is to open up and let people know, because it's helped me be a lot stronger when I open up about my own struggles and all that stuff than to keep it inside. When I kept it inside, I felt like I was weak because I was holding all this stuff down inside instead of letting it out.
Yeah, I'm working with one guy in particular right now, and he's in our group coaching program. Um, he just he's blossomed so much just from um, what's the word I'm looking for? Being willing, just being willing to change, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to say what's really on his mind and not the script that he's supposed to read,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just watching him grow into this even more amazing human being is it's pretty incredible. I wish more men would do coaching. I love working with men. I think that boys are given a great disservice growing up. Boys are told like don't cry, and they're not held as much, and they're not kissed as much, and they're not loved on as much, like in a genuine way.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have these men walking around who don't know how to be emotional.
Right. And I think that at least for me, I think it leads to men seeking that physical love wherever they can get it, because they didn't get it growing up, and so they don't have a healthy relationship with it in the first place. So they get involved with men or women that are wrong for them, and and it I think that leads to a lot of society's problems in the first place. I think boys and girls should be treated a lot alike as far as that goes. Like, boys should get affection, and it's okay to cry and all that kind of stuff, because when we're taught to hold it all in, that's when we end up having those explosions of anger
Yeah.
later on in life. And so it definitely something that men could benefit from. And I think coaching is, you're probably right, going to a coach and learning how to deal with all that kind of stuff is better than trying to deal with it on your own.
Yeah, and I'm raising a grandson. He'll be 3 next month. And my daughter and I are so careful when he is crying to be like, um, instead of saying you're okay, we say it's okay.
Right.
And ask him what do you need, and what's going on. Instead of just patting him and just being like, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay, and then casting him to the side. I think that's people don't realize what a huge impact that has later in life.
Yeah. It's amazing how much stuff when you're younger has such an impact later in life that um I think a lot of people are learning now, and I'm hoping, like how you and your daughter are dealing with your grandson, that a lot of people are taking into account, because I think that'll help the next generation, and maybe we won't have as many problems with relationships that we have. Maybe we'll have a better society in general if people start, treating. And that's another thing Jesus taught. He loved the children, and so if you can go into that situation of, treating children the same, it's different when they become teenagers, obviously, but when they're young kids, I think we should be treating them with care and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I think even as teenagers, there's tough love, definitely tough love. I mean, there needs to be boundaries and all of that kind of thing. But um, I just, a lot of people think that trauma, there has to be trauma in order for a child to be broken, and that's not
No,
absolutely not true.
no, there doesn't have to be, but it sure doesn't help when there is.
Yeah, I think that no boundaries. I think that, parents not having any boundaries and just letting kids, run around and rule can be just as detrimental as,
Yep.
heavy hands and abuse and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, there definitely needs to be a balance, and finding that balance. And I don't have any kids, so I'm not here to give advice to anybody on that, other than from being a kid before, and just learning about myself and how much it would have helped to have um, maybe a different upbringing that would allow that interaction a lot better when I was younger, and I think it would have led me to have a lot more healthy relationships. And I'm sure from any of the guys that you coached, I'm sure that's something that they have struggled with.
They do. And then, through the cognitive, thought models and learning how to reparent themselves, you really can turn it around. I mean, and quickly, very, very
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah.
learning how to be a healthier individual. And if you want to get coaching from Allyson, you can go to AllysonRoberts.com. You can sign up there and get coaching directly from her. And Weekend are being one of the people in here was saying we can always use help from other individuals, especially interactions. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And that's what you're here for, is to help people out. So if you guys want any coaching or anything like that, go to her website, and she can help you out and become a successful individual. And she started in a Volkswagen Beetle, and now look at her. She's a successful individual. And I gotta say that story, and finding out that you both faxed in at the same time to find each other, that probably is one of the biggest faith building moments in your life, I would guess, to
Yes.
realize there's a God out there that actually cares about you.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for being on today. And I always tell everybody, stop waiting for life to happen and make life happen. And
Yes.
you made life happen. And so through all your stories, is there anything else that you want to let people out there know today?
Yeah, I actually I have a free webinar they can come and be a part of. And it is absolutely free. There's no tricks about that. So they can find out about that by getting into my Facebook group. It's called
Okay.
Outrageous Results.
Okay.
So yeah, we would love to have you guys join in. It's 7 days. It's an hour each day where we just work on mindset, and I teach you how to start the steps to turn everything around.
And did you get the outrageous stuff just because of how your life ended up from being in there, and you said, this is outrageous that I could do this and end up here. So if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to play the credits. Stick with me for a minute, and I'll be right back with you. And everybody else, thank you for watching this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.